Now to our series on life after lockdown, where we've been taking a closer look at the experiences of pandemic moms and their babies, pregnant women and new moms, including some big questions that you might not know the answer to from research or looking into what public health agencies have said. Questions that you, folks watching, folks listening, are navigating every single day at home. So we decided to take some of those questions from you and bring in some of the very best experts on these topics to give you some answers. Let me bring in now Ruth Fadon, Executive Director of the Berman Bioethics Institute at Johns Hopkins University. Also joining us, Emily Oster, Economics Professor at Brown University and author of the upcoming book, The Family Firm, a data-driven guide to better decision-making in the early school years. Also with us, MSNBC medical contributor Dr. Naheed Bhadelia, infectious diseases physicians and medical director of the Special Pathogens Unit at Boston Medical Center. Brain Trust, welcome. Thank you all for being here with us. I really appreciate it. Good morning. And Professor Fadon, let me start with you, Ruth. Our first question is from Michelle Seitz, who tweeted at us that her question is, what have studies shown for women who have received the COVID vaccine and now want to get pregnant? Have there been studies showing difficulty getting pregnant after getting the vaccine?
There have not been, but I want to be very careful here. There have not been because there really could not have been. It's way too early to be able to get data specific to that question. But let me underscore that we've had really many, many decades of experience with vaccines and pregnant people and vaccines and women. And there's no indication that there is an association between any vaccines and infertility. That I can say.
Emily, let me take the next one over to you. This question from D-Lynn BLM, who wants to know, is there a timeline right now for kids 10 and older to get the COVID vaccine?
So for kids 12 to 17, we're currently in trials. And my guess is that those will be done towards the end of the summer, and we'll actually start seeing some vaccination there. For the younger cohort, they're only just enrolling or thinking about enrolling kids in those trials now. So I think realistically for kids, particularly kids under 5, but even the kind of under 12 set, we're looking towards the end of 2021. The better news is that kids are really low risk. So I think that once all of the adults are vaccinated, once we see even young adults vaccinated, we're going to be able to return to more normalcy, even as we wait for that last little piece of kids being vaccinated themselves.
Yeah, which I think a lot of folks are looking forward to. Dr. Bhadelia, let me ask this one to you from Rawls Tamina, who says, my daughter-in-law will have her baby girl on Monday. Congratulations. She says, I'm getting my first Pfizer vaccine today, the first dose. Should I keep my distance for now? What would you say to her?
Well, congratulations to you, both for the vaccine and the grandchild. So what I would say is that what we know from CDC guidelines is that people who have both of their vaccines, and 2 weeks after their vaccine, or with Johnson & Johnson, 1 dose, and 2 weeks after that, they're considered fully vaccinated. And then they can go to low risk households and sort of, merge with that household. So your daughter and their child would be considered, if they're not high risk, would be considered safe for you to visit. So for you to not visit them, the reason right now is not so much for their safety, but just so that you're protected and you've gotten the full protection of the vaccines that you're receiving before you can do that. So I'd say just delay until you get your second dose, and it's been 2 weeks.
That's good advice. Emily, this next one is a personal one for us here in our MSNBC family, because the wife of one of our colleagues here, Candy Kreinbrink, sent us this question, which buries the lead, their exciting announcement that is getting revealed on this show. She says, my midwife says they're seeing fewer vaccine side effects in pregnant women than the general population. Is there any data to back that up? Or is my midwife just trying to calm me down?
So I will go start with the same thing Ruth said, which is we don't yet have enough data to be really confident about that kind of thing. I have heard that anecdote also. I think given that we generally see that the more robust is your immune system, on average, the sort of more significant are the side effects with the vaccine. So we're seeing higher incidence of side effects for younger people typically than older people. You might have thought that pregnant people would have a lower incidence of side effects because there's a bit of immune compromise there. But I think the high level point is all of the data we're seeing on vaccination in pregnant people so far has been really reassuring. And of course, being protected against COVID is important, especially for pregnant people. So I think that's pretty reassuring. And most importantly, congratulations.
And to Candy and Mike, a huge congratulations indeed. Emily, that makes sense. Thank you. Ruth, on this timeline question, that is something that I think a lot of people are wondering about. Amy Schwartz-Kimlott certainly is. She wants to know, when can we expect reliable research, right, to be published for the safety of these 3 vaccines for nursing mothers in pregnancy? It is clear that it's still very early in the data gathering process. When do you foresee sort of more concrete info for women down the road?
Sure. So there are 2 pieces here. For lactation, really the message could not be more reassuring. People who are breastfeeding shouldn't hesitate to get vaccinated. And in fact, there are just the beginnings of some results coming in to suggest that it may be really beneficial for newborns for their mothers to be vaccinated during pregnancy in terms of potentially conferring some protection and immunity to newborns. So we're watching that data very, very carefully, but it's looking encouraging. And there are 2 studies in the U.S. and multiple around the world that are monitoring breast milk, and so far, so good. So on the lactation side, it's really easy to be very, very, very reassuring. On the pregnancy side, there you go. Thank you. On the pregnancy side, too, the evidence is all leaning in the direction of reassurance, both historical evidence from the vaccine products themselves when they were tested in animals before they were introduced into human beings. These are called DART studies. Those are also very encouraging. We now have 2 sources of data that are coming in that we didn't have previously. The first set of data are coming from all the women who are being vaccinated around the world during pregnancy, and that's a lot of women. VSafe, which is the monitoring system here in the CDC that the CDC maintains, is beginning to roll out some of the data. Again, early days, but so far encouraging what they're seeing with pregnant women in the VSafe system. And also 2 vaccine manufacturers, Pfizer and J&J, have announced that they are beginning studies with pregnant women, J&J down the road and Pfizer later. Pfizer now, excuse me.
Emily, nope. And we're showing some information on our screen, by the way. If you look, we're having all these studies that you're referencing, Ruth, on our Twitter page at Hallie on MSNBC, so folks can get there for the link.
Great.
Emily, this is a question we actually kind of took from folks who've been writing into your newsletter. You know I am an avid reader of that, and you've been getting this a lot. When can kids start having their friends come over? And then on the travel front, as folks look ahead to the summer, is it safe to travel with kids if everybody else in the family is vaccinated?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. As we get all of the high-risk adults vaccinated, we are going to really lower any of the sort of serious hospitalization and death risks. And for kids who are low risk, healthy kids, these risks are really small. They're much, much lower than a lot of the other disease risks that are floating around in the world at all times. And so although I think it's still going to seem scary initially, and I think we're going to need to sort of adapt a little bit, that I think there is a sense in which parents can be confident that the travel is going to be possible this summer, that play dates are going to be possible this summer, and that once the high-risk individuals are vaccinated, we can start acting more normally. I think one way to say it is just given the low risk for kids, it's kind of as if they are already vaccinated. It's just that they're waiting on the rest of us to return to some sense of normalcy.
Dr. Padilla, we only have a couple of seconds left, but I want to ask you a question that I heard a ton in my course of reporting this. Dr. Laura Riley at Cornell said that she's gotten this from a lot of women. And Ruth touched on this a little bit. Can the vaccine actually transmit antibodies, for example, through breast milk or through the placenta if you are pregnant? Do we know about that yet?
Yeah, and Ruth alluded to this as well. So mothers in general transfer protective antibodies for all kinds of, diseases to their babies through the while the babies are in their placenta, and also through breast milk. And that's what we call passing of the passive immunity. And so we want that. If a mother is vaccinated, it's likely if she builds those antibodies, at least while she's breastfeeding and for a little bit of a time after that, those protective antibodies will be passed on to the baby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank all of you out there.
Thank you as always.
Thanks to at home.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for letting us into your homes during these extraordinary times.